Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I managed to finish a few things, fixed a couple of things that I said last week I would fix. I've done those. And I've cast on a new project, which wasn't in my project roundup last week and I hadn't planned to be casting on yet. But there's a very good reason I've cast it on. So lots of stuff to share in today's video. Plus I have the winner for the Knit and Stitch show tickets for Harrogate Knit and Stitch show in November. And I've got some new workshops coming up as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website, YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It is my birthday this month. My birthday is not for a couple of weeks yet, but I do have an offer which is valid all month. So you can get 15% off all my online courses, which include finishing techniques, continental knitting, successful socks, successful lace knitting, successful brioche knitting, Scandinavian stranded colorwork and steeking. That's all one course. So loads of stuff to choose between. You get immediate access to the course. You can work through the course in your own time and at your own pace, and I'm available to answer any questions you have. And you keep indefinite access to the course. So if you want to buy it now, but you haven't got time to start it now, that's absolutely fine. You can sign up now and get the 15% off and then start taking the course later on. And you can go back to it as many times as you want to. And 15% also off my online shop. So loads of yarn from the cheap and affordable, but very good quality Yatagar merino cotton, which I'm using a lot at the moment, to the beautiful Manos Uruguay hand-dyed yarns from Uruguay, which are all fair trade, made by a women's cooperative supporting local women in Uruguay. So that is all the promotions. So let's just have a look at some of the things I have coming up this autumn. Plus I'm going to announce the winner of the Knit and Stitch show tickets to Harrogate as well. I've just emailed the winner, so if you have one, I will have emailed you today. I am filming this on a Thursday and it goes out on Friday. So let's just have a quick, because I have got a couple of new workshops, 3 new workshops that have been added to my autumn schedule. So just go through my workshops very, very quickly. 5th of September, the Knitting Hotel brioche knitting. All my workshops are now on my website, by the way. 9th of September, this is a new workshop, spinning yarn in Bobby Tracy in Devon. I'm teaching an intarsia workshop, and the new project I've decided to cast on this week may be related to that. So if you've always wanted to learn intarsia knitting, join me at spinning yarn on the 9th of September for a full day of intarsia knitting. 12th and 13th of September, I'm at Black Sheep Wools in Warrington. The Friday class is full. 13th of September, my mosaic colorwork workshop has got one space still, I think. Or it did last time I checked anyway. 27th and 28th of September, I'm at Yarndale in Yorkshire, and I'm teaching a half-day intarsia workshop. I'm not sure if it's 2 hours or 2.5 hours. I can't remember off the top of my head. But on the Sunday, 28th of September, I'm teaching intarsia, but that's a shorter workshop. There are 3 spaces available on that one when I looked yesterday. 3rd and 4th of October, I'm teaching clutch bags at the Knitting Hotel in Dawlish. And I'm not going to go through all of them, actually. I'll just go through the new ones. I've added 11th of November, spinning yarn, Bobby Tracy, Devon, finishing techniques, and 9th of December, spinning yarn. I'm doing my hot water bottles. I'll pop a picture up on the screen to show you what they look like. There may be a new pattern by then. I haven't decided yet. And of course, I'm going to be at Harrogate in November, the Harrogate Knit and Stitch show. I'm just going to look at my computer. I'm teaching from the 21st to the 23rd. So the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I'm teaching. I am teaching, let's have a look. On the Friday, I'm teaching Mobius cowl for 2 hours. So you learn how to do the Mobius castle, which is very interesting. Then I'm doing continental knitting and mitered squares in the afternoon. On the Saturday, I'm doing Mobius cowl again in the morning, and the knitting in the round and continental knitting in the afternoon. And then on the Sunday, I'm teaching seaming knitted fabric, so you learn how to do mattress stitch. Stitches to stitches, rows to rows, stitches to rows. which covers all eventualities you will need to seam. Skinny eyelet scarf, which you learn like basic lace stitches and shaping and things. And then mosaic scarf in the afternoon. So all those workshops are available online. I'll link the Harrogate workshop page below. There's also an offer there for a discount, I think it is, on tickets to entry tickets to the show. All that's linked below. When you go to the workshop page, it lists everyone's workshops, and there are a lot, and a lot of them aren't knitting related. So if you specifically want to see mine, just click on the advanced filter and scroll down to see my name and click on my name, and then you'll see all my workshops and be able to book for those. And the winner of the Knit and Stitch Show 2 free tickets that I was giving away in last week's podcast episode. Thank you to everyone who commented. The winner is Hazel Morris 678. That's your username. That's the username. Hazel Morris 678 is username. I've emailed you, Hazel, so your codes should be on its way to you by now. That is it, I think, for future stuff. About my birthday offer, the 15% off, I put all the details below, including the links and discount code and all that kind of stuff. So do go and check that out. Right, let's get on to what I've been knitting. So last week I went through all my whips, and there were a lot of them, and tried to prioritize them. Things have changed a little bit since then, so I've had to reprioritize something. But let's go through some of the things I finished. So first, this one I actually finished a while ago, and this pattern has already been published. This is my Diamonds Are Forever cushion, and I've also taught it as a workshop recently as well. But when I knitted it, according to my tension, I worked out that I would need a certain number of pattern repeats. I think it was 7, but I might be remembering the wrong one. And when I got like half a repeat before the end, before what the number of repeats I thought I would, so let's say it was 7 repeats and I did 6.5. When I measured it, I thought it was long enough. So I should have just put it on hold and blocked it at that point, or at least pinned it out like I was going to block it, just to check that it was right. I do normally block my color work because it just evens it out a little bit and makes it all like nice and smooth. But I didn't do that. I decided to go ahead and do the button band and finish it, wove in all my ends, blocked it, realized it was a little bit too short. So last week I showed you how when I buttoned it up, it was kind of gaping a bit at the top, and I was struggling to keep the buttons kind of buttoned up. So it's been sitting here for weeks now, since before I went to Norway, probably like end of May, early June, I guess. End of May, I can't remember. It's been sitting here for weeks, just waiting for me to do this. So last weekend, I think it was, I finally got my act together, and I managed to find all my ends and undo them. That was difficult. I unraveled it back to where I was. Now the problem is finding where the beginning of your round is. It's obviously on this side, I think it was. Yes. So I found what I thought was the beginning of the round. I double checked that the pattern worked. I carried on knitting. I did the extra half a repeat. I did the button band. And when I came to put the buttonholes in, I realized that I must have started the beginning of the round in slightly the wrong place. Although it does look okay where I started it, so I can't see from the pattern that I made a mistake. But when I went to sew the buttonholes on, my first buttonhole is in the wrong place. It's basically here at the back rather than here, which is where it should be. So I've ended up with there's 4 buttonholes. There should be 5. In the pattern there's 5, but once I realized this, I thought I just can't face undoing the rib and redoing it again. So I've left it. Probably not ideal, but it's such a minor detail that I don't think anyone will notice it. But yeah, I made a mistake and I can't bother to go back and fix it again. So at least not now. Maybe I'll do it before next time I teach this workshop, which is September, I think. I think I'm teaching it at Black Sheep Wools in September. Anyway, if you come to YarnAddict, I'll probably have this on display and you can come and look at where my Aran buttonhole is. But yeah, I made a mistake. The pattern is correct. I know the pattern is correct because the buttonholes were in the correct placement on the original one I knitted. It's just the fact that I unpicked it. And when you unpick, it is difficult to work out exactly where the beginning of the round is. And I think when I unpicked it, I must have unpicked slightly more than, because when you finish the ends where the beginning of the round is, you weave in the ends and then you cut it. So obviously my end there was really short, so I think I must have just unpicked a few more stitches and joined in the new yarn, so I wouldn't end up with ends that were like that short. I think that's what I did wrong, and then forgot to check that because I was rushing. So anyway, it's done. I'm not going to do anything more about that at the moment. So the next thing I've done, I don't know whether I'd done this last week or not, but I'm teaching mitre squares at Harrogate. And originally I was going to do this cushion, which we'll talk about in a minute. But then I thought it's going to take too long. They won't get more than maybe 3 or 4 squares done anyway in the, I think it's a 2-hour class. And I have to provide the kit for whatever we're doing. And looking at the pay structure and how much I would make from that class and the yarn I'd have to provide for the kit, even though I get it wholesale, it didn't make sense to provide the yarn for a cushion. That's just the truth of the matter. So when I put my teaching proposal together, I contacted the organizer and said, I'd be really interested to teach at your events. Can you please let me have some information? And she said, well, I'm going to start working on Harrogate soon. So if you can get your proposal in by this date, I can look at it. And I think I only had like a week or two to do, so it wasn't a lot of time. And I'm not used to teaching short workshops like that, so it was quite a lot of work to do. And I decided, as I was going through all the numbers and working out what to do, that doing the cushion didn't make financial sense, and I would do a placemat instead. But I hadn't worked out this pattern yet, so I just used a pattern of that without the cushion inside, just lying flat as my kind of promotional picture. And then I started working on this. I actually decided to go for a combination of smaller squares and a bigger square. And then I also worked on this because we won't get all this finished in the 2-hour class. So I also worked on this. So for the class at Harrogate, everyone will get the pattern for this and we'll start working on this. But if anyone don't want to do all that, they can just do a smaller one. I was thinking this would be quite nice to, as a like cozy, put your cup on, or as a little tablecloth to put like a vase of flowers or something on. That's what I was thinking. But I've done that and then I knitted this afterwards. So I need to finish off the patterns and check my yarn amounts and all that kind of stuff. But that shouldn't take me very long. So that's on my list for next week to do. And then we have this mitered cushion. If you remember last week, originally I hadn't done a button band. I knitted like a flap, which I tucked inside, and it just didn't look very good. The flap wasn't long enough. I didn't want to make it longer. And the edge on the back here was also a little bit loose, so I would have had to knit on an edging there as well. So I decided to undo it and do a button band. Obviously, the problem when you undo stuff is you need to find your ends and undo your ends. And I'm very good at weaving in ends, and I was struggling to find them. And the problem was I should have filmed this really before I undid it, but I didn't. The flap I'd knitted, which went inside, I'd sewn that into the side seams here. So when I started unpicking that, I wasn't sure which end was for the side seam and which end was for the sewing in the flap. And at one point, I actually ended up with one stitch in the corner of one of these live, and I quickly caught it, so the whole last square didn't unravel. But I did manage to pick it all up and undo it and fix it. And this time I managed to start at the right place because there was a seam either side. It was easier on this one, and I just had to do the button band. So I did a button band in the pink and green because I'd used more of the grey and I had more left of the pink and green. I'm struggling a bit with buttons at the moment because my main button box, where I have loads and loads of buttons that I used to buy from Textile Gardens pre-COVID, every time I did a show, Textile Garden, who do amazing buttons, used to be at all the shows I did. So every time I did a show, I could walk around to their stall on the end of the second day and just buy a load of buttons, buy like buttons £15–20 worth of buttons, and just keep them in my button stash. So when I needed them, I would have things to choose from. I haven't seen them at any of the shows I've done after COVID, so I don't know if they still do shows. I did look at their website. I think it might have been last year. But it's so difficult to buy buttons online, so I didn't buy any. So I have one box with some buttons in, but my main button box, which have all my textile garden buttons, I can't find. So when I was looking for buttons for this one, the best I could find were these heart-shaped ones, which actually look better on than I thought they would. I wasn't that keen on them. They're all a different design. I still got quite a few left of those. I must have bought a big bag somewhere. But they'd be fun, and they actually look better on than I thought they would. It was basically that's the only thing I can find, so I'll go with those situation, but I do quite like them. So this is now finished. It's currently going through tech editing. Hopefully it'll be finished by the end of this week. I have a bit of a queue of things that need to be published. I can't remember how many patterns I have that need to be published. I got 1, 2, 3, 3 patterns that have been, have I got 3? No, 2 patterns that have to be published. So that'll be 3 with that one. So I'll have 3 patterns in my queue to be published. So I'll probably release 1 pattern next week and then space them out a bit. That was my plan, to kind of space them out a bit over the summer and September, because once September comes, it's going to be so busy. So those are the things that were kind of left over from last week that I just needed a bit of finishing on. And then, right, let's talk about this one next. This one is nearly finished. So a few months ago, I designed and knitted this brioche clutch bag. And I used the Neon Nep DK from Discreet Unicorn and Spectrum Fiber. So it's the same base yarn but 2 different dyes, and I really like this. But I must admit, the Nep bits, the neon bits, do come off. So when I was knitting it, I was kind of had those shed a little bit. They haven't shed as much when I've been knitting from this as they were when I was knitting this. But I saw somebody who was one of my workshops, I can't remember if it was earlier this year or last year. She was using, I think it was black with these neon knives, and that just looked so gorgeous. The black, or might have been dark charcoal grey or something, but it was a dark colour with the neon knives. Just looked so beautiful, and I thought, oh, I fancy doing something with that yarn. But now, having knitted with it, I'm not sure, because these bits do shed. So if you've used neon nep yarns, loads of indie dyes are doing it. So I'm not picking on these 2 indie dyes. Please don't get me wrong, because I like both of them, and they're 2 of my favourite indie dyes. But I think it's just the yarn. The neon bits do fall off occasionally, so I'm not sure about knitting a garment in this neon nep yarn from whichever dye it is, because it's all the same base yarn, I think. So anyway, I knitted that one, but I wanted to knit it in the yarn I stock, and a yarn that's not as expensive as the hand-dyed yarn. So I cast them with my favourite affordable yarn, Yataghan Merino Cotton, and I basically finished the bag. So the next thing I need to do is to sew in the clutch frame and then make the lining. I finished this last night, so I haven't had time to do that. I'm going to the gym this afternoon, and so I think probably tomorrow afternoon I'm going to take some time to make the lining. I am thinking about knitting this, or maybe a slightly more complicated brioche clutch bag in a different colour combination. I chose this because a lot of my other clutch bags are pink, purple. I have done one which is purple and this colour, and instead of going for the colours that I would normally choose, I thought I would go for a different colour combination this time. So I went for navy and this light blue. This light blue is one of my favourite colours in this range, and the purple and the pink. Purple is called amethyst. I think this might be called magenta, but I love that. So I am thinking about either making another one in the colours that I would choose, or maybe adding a different brioche pattern. I haven't decided yet. Maybe instead of flipping the colours, do it the same colour all the way around. I was thinking about actually casting that on since I finished this, but I have something else I need to prioritise. So I'm putting it off for a little while. So when I make the lining for this, I'm actually going to make the lining for 2 bags, because it's fairly quick to make the lining. What's time consuming is cutting out the fabric. So I might as well cut out enough fabric for 2 and then sew them all together, because the sewing up doesn't take that long. digging up my sewing machine and carrying it downstairs and setting it all up probably takes longer or as long as actually sewing up the lining. You can make the lining, it's just straight seams. You can hand sew it or you can machine sew it. You cut a piece for the bottom and one for each side, and one for the bottom, one for the front, one for the back, one for each short side, and then you just sew them together. You can do it by hand. I use felt because it's a little bit thicker, so you don't need to add interfacing, and it's less slippery than cotton. So when you're sewing it up and you're using a machine or by hand, if you're not an experienced sewer, it's easy to do. The first couple I made, I actually did by hand, but that's just so time consuming. And I thought, I have a sewing machine sitting here, I just haven't used it for a few years. So I eventually dug up my sewing machine and I've done all the rest that I've done by on the machine because it's just so much quicker. I also have a crochet bag that I made last year when I went to Norway, probably May last year, I think. And I've never actually finished it. I finished all the crochet, I just haven't made the lining for it. So I did actually make the lining, but I didn't put it in. I think it was actually a lining I may have used for this one. So I'll probably actually make 3 lining. I sell the felt in my online shop. So I sell the clutch frames and the felt in my online shop as a pack. And what I do is I cut out the total amount of felt you will need. So you will need to cut it into individual pieces. So when I do that, I buy normally 2 meters of felt in a go of each color, and then I cut it into the total piece that you will need to cut out the individual pieces for this. So I end up with a lot of waste. So I have quite a big stack of waste over there, so which are too small to cut out the big piece, but are fine to be used to cut out the individual pieces, if that makes sense. So I'm actually going to use that, and I'll probably end up making 3 linings, one for this one for another version of this if I decide to knit it, and then one for the crochet one, and then I can sew in the frame and the lining for this one and the crochet one at the same time. That makes sense, doesn't it? So my plan is to get this finished before the weekend, hopefully. Just going to take out all my bits and pieces in here and leave this upstairs because there's no need for that to come back downstairs for me, and then I will get on and get this finished. So I'll show it to you next week what it looks like completely finished, and hopefully I will also get around to finishing the crochet one that I made last year. Let's talk about my sock progress. I actually made quite a lot of sock progress. The last week I was saying that I couldn't find my first sock, that I thought the sock I was working on was the second one, and I couldn't find the first one. Turned out it was on the table that my camera is on, under a pile of other stuff. So I have found it. So that's the first sock, which I finished a while ago. So I'm making progress on the second sock. We've been out and about a few times this week. My daughter's been home, so we've been out and about a bit. So I've taken this with me. Last week I was there where that marker is, and my finger is there. So I've done all that since last week. I finished the foot, and I've knitted in the waist yarn for the afterthought heel. Can you see that yellow line there? I use this thin nylon cord called Ravel cord, which machine knitters use a lot. I bought it originally for my knitting machine, and because my knitting machine is packed away in the corner of my room because I haven't got room for it, I using this as a waist yarn for sock heels because it's really good for that. So I've just got to the heel, done one round after I put the waist yarn in for the heel. So this is just my out and about sock. We went to a place called Kingsand and Corsan in southeast Cornwall. It's just opposite Plymouth. And we went there on Tuesday, I think. My youngest daughter's been home since Saturday evening, so we went out with her on Sunday. It was raining. We went to Saltram House in Plymouth. Didn't film anything. We walked around the house, but we didn't do anything else because it was raining. I did bring my knitting with me, so I did do a bit of knitting when we were in the coffee shop. Monday, Emily and I went to Plymouth in the afternoon, and we split up and did the things we need to do, and then we met in a coffee shop, and I was finished earlier than we were supposed to meet, so I had a bit more time in the coffee shop while I was waiting for her to finish her shopping because I got to the coffee shop early. But it was so busy, I just didn't feel like browsing for the sake of it. I just did the things I had to do and then disappeared into the coffee shop. And I didn't bring my knitting because I didn't think I'd have time to do anything. And I probably would have been able to do like half an hour on my socks. I was really annoyed. So when we went out on Tuesday afternoon, we both took the afternoon off to spend with Emily, and we went out to Kingsand and Corsan. I did bring this. We had a walk around the two villages. The two Cornish seaside villages next to each other. Really pretty. And we ended up going to a cafe restaurant on the beach in Corsan and sat outside for quite a while enjoying a drink. So I did a bit of knitting then and put the waist yarn in for the afterthought heel. And I haven't touched it since Tuesday, because this is just my out and about project. So this weekend, if we go out and about anywhere, I will take it with me and make a bit more progress. I'd like to finish it really by the end of August, but it depends on just what we get up to. I think last week I said that once I'd finished that brioche bag, I would start a new version of this, because I knitted this last December. I finished it just as I had to shoot off to Norway on an emergency trip, and my patterns are a bit sketchy, especially what happened at the top here. So I really need to knit another sample, and I want to do it in Yachtigar Merino cotton. The black is Yachtigar Merino cotton, and the colour is the Advent calendar from the Discreet Unicorn from last year. It's a sparkly DK. Can you see this? I don't know if you can see the sparkles in there. I can see the sparkles in there. And I love it. It's just so beautiful. I haven't used it yet because I want to keep it nice till I get the pattern properly written up and photographed and things. So I was going to re-knit it in the Yachtigar Merino cotton. And that was the one I was going to start after I finished that clutch bag. But then I got my workshop bookings in from Spinny Yarn, and I'm teaching in Tarsia there on 9th of September. And I taught in Tarsia a couple of times last year, just half-day workshops, and we just worked on some little squares like this because it was just half a day. So everyone knitted one square, some people knitted two or started a second one. But I thought, as it's a full day workshop, I thought we'd probably work on one of those squares in the morning. But I wanted for the afternoon, people can either carry on those squares, or I wanted to have a project that people could start. So I've had this idea for a project for a while. It's very simple scarf, and I cast on last night. So I knitted this last night when we were watching a drama series before we went to bed. So I am using the grey and six other colours, and it's going to be a sort of shortish scarf, similar in shape to my Bergen scarf, which is the mosaic scarf, which I haven't got it here now. Don't know where it is, but if you remember that, this is going to be a similar shape to that. The thing I don't like about doing this is that you do end up with a lot of ends, because when I start each colour, I have to break the grey and then join it in again here, and then obviously I have to break the colour at the end, start and end of each colour. So for each colour I end up with like 4 ends to weave in, which is a bit annoying because it doesn't look that neat on the back, and you can, if you weave in ends too frequently, it can affect the way the fabric feels as well. I did try knitting the ends in, but I've never found a technique of knitting in ends that I'm happy with. So I tried one technique last night. No, I tried 2 different techniques. One I left in place and I'm not happy with it. The other one I undid and wove the end in normally. So what I'm thinking about doing is cheating. And when I join in a new colour, so for example, when I start this blue, to get the grey from here to here, I'm thinking about just carrying it around the back on the first row of the blue. and then use it to knit back and forth on this side. And then when I do the last row of blue, carry it back across the beginning. So then for each colour, I will only have the 2 colour ends to weave in. I know that's cheating a bit because that's not intarsia, that's mixing intarsia and stranded colour work, but I don't care. So I might do that and see if I'm happier with that, really. The other thing I could do is have a second grey ball, and when I start a new colour, I could carry the main grey up the side and then just join in a new grey to do the bit next to the colour bits, if that makes sense. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to play with this more today. Because of getting this tech edited and things, I need to finish this by the end of next week. So we can hopefully get the tech editing done. I've asked my tech editor if she would be able to manage that, and I haven't heard back from her yet. So I don't know whether she watches my YouTube channels, but she might watch this and go, nope, not going to happen. Or she might go, yes, I'm fine with that. But I have emailed her, but I haven't heard back because I only emailed her yesterday afternoon. So I'm hoping to have this ready for the workshop at Spinning Yarn in September, but that is only a few weeks away, so I haven't got a lot of time. So I need to get on with this. My project bag is the one from Janie Crow, which I got from Black Sheep Wools when I was there in June. And I really like this project bag. It's quite deep, but not that wide. And it's really easy when you are like standing up or walking to just put it over your arm. So yeah, I really like that. So I started using that for this project. That is it, I think, when it comes to my knitting. Oh, that's my pattern for this new Intarsia project. I should put that in my bag so I don't miss it when I come downstairs later and I can't find it. So I think that's it for this week. My other projects that I was going through last week, I haven't done any work on. I have 2 mosaic projects on the go. I have a deadline I think it's in September, so I need to chase up the yarn for that and decide whether I'm going to do it or whether one of my sample knitters is going to do it. Because September is going to be really busy because I got workshops at Knitting Hotel, Spinning Yarn. Both of those are in Devon. Black Sheep Wools in Warrington, up north, and Yarndale in Yorkshire, up north. So a lot of stuff is happening in September. Last year, September was fairly chill. The first half was because I was in Norway. This year's going to be really, really busy. And then October will be a bit more chill because I've got 2 holidays booked in October. And then November is going to be really crazy again. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love being busy in the autumn. Autumn is always my busiest time of the year, and I really enjoy it. Before we finish, the Tuesday video this week was a video I did on online criticism. See a lot of content creators, designers, indie dyers being criticized online, and I thought I would just chat about it. And but I think some of that criticism is legitimate, and with some it's just a bit plain nasty. So I talked about that in Tuesday's video. There'll be another video next Tuesday. I have just recorded it and I'm uploading it now, but I don't know whether I will change it by then. I'm also planning, I was going to film a load of tutorials this week, but because my daughter's been home, I haven't done as much work this week as I'd planned to do. And for next week, I need to schedule in time to film some tutorials. So if there are any tutorials you'd like to see from me, let me know, because next week and possibly the week after, I want to film a bunch of tutorials. I have a couple of planned already. It takes a lot of time planning tutorials and doing any prep for it. So I want to try and do it next week and the week after. And then like schedule them out throughout the autumn. Tutorials or anything else you'd like me to talk about, then do let me know so I can add that to my filming schedule over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Don't forget 15% off my online courses and my YarnAddict online shop, valid until the end of September. That is it. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I'll put all the details below about link to my workshop page. All my autumn workshops are now on the website. I am still in talks with somebody in Devon about some workshops, but we haven't confirmed dates yet, so there may be some more added for Devon. I don't know yet. The link to the Harrogate workshops is there, Spinning Yarn, the Knitting Hotel, Black Sheep Wools, Yarndale, all that is on my website. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.